Welcome to the Magic of NLP Masterclass with myself, Lauren Jobson. I'm so excited I get to share with you a passion of mine from the last 13 years, and I've had the privilege of teaching it for the last 10 years. So I'm really excited to share with you, as you will hear, a lot of NLP techniques, and I endeavour for you to see how it can help you improve all and any area of your life. And I really want you to take this time to think about what I'm teaching you and reflect so that you can really start to apply these things to what's going on for you now. Now, as well, at the end of this webinar, I will be sharing with you about the first step of learning NLP. So I'm going to talk about that, and that will be at the very end, just to let you know and to get your permission there, if that's okay. So you are in the right place to discover what NLP is, learn the benefits of NLP applied to your own life, and you're going to, again, as I have said before, understand why it's been a passion of mine for over a decade in helping transform the lives of hundreds of people that I have personally taught all across Australia for the last 10 years. So if I was just to give you one slide to share with you what it is that I love about NLP, well, what I would say is that NLP allows us to make the unconscious conscious, so you can create your life intentionally. You know, if something stays unconscious, well then, if you don't have that consciousness or awareness, you can't do anything about it. The moment we can become conscious, we can then have intention. We can then fulfill our true purposes and what is important to us. So when I say fulfill our purposes, it's this question of, you know, what is the purpose for me in my career, say? And to make sure then, once you know that, to really think as you're doing your career, being intentional about that and going, am I fulfilling what I want to in my career? Is an example of living intentionally. It also, NLP is a powerful communication tool, and everything comes down to effective communication. Absolutely everything. The communication that we have with ourselves. What is your self-talk like? So NLP is very much about making sure that your language is empowering, it's positive, and it has you focus on the things that you want more of. So what can be common in our world are things like, you know, I don't want you to forget what I'm about to say, or feel, how's it go? I'm so used to saying the positive that I was just about to say the positive instead of the negative. Don't hesitate to contact me is actually a negative. Or when we talk to ourselves, like, oh, don't do that, Lauren. Or, you know, stop focusing on the negative. When we say these things, we are teaching our unconscious mind, and I'm going to talk about the unconscious mind, to focus on the things that we don't want. And it's this whole saying, I don't know if you've heard of it, but you can't think about what you don't want to think about without thinking about it first. And so if we look at just communication and having effective communication, NLP is all about being conscious. So it leads me from the first point I made. It's all about using your words, being conscious of them, and using them intentionally. So you know the effect that you're having on yourself, and you are you're conscious of how it's affecting others, because everything we say has an effect on the people that we're communicating to. So I think it's very important to know how we're affecting ourselves and others on a day-to-day, moment-to-moment basis. Okay, so it's a very effective communication tool. And in a nutshell, this is what NLP is. It's the manual for why we do what we do as human beings. We all ask the question, why? Why is life like this? Why did I behave that way? Oh, look at that person doing that interesting behavior. Why are they like that? So we all ask this question, why? And with the question why, we're left with reasons, detail, content, justifications. So generally the answer we get back from a question why is not actually very helpful. So NLP changes the question why into how. How do we do what we do? How did I create that thought? How did I create this emotion, this feeling that I have? How did I create this behavior? How did that person do what they do? When we get the how, we get process. And when we have process, it's steps that we can take and steps that we can see that equals a specific outcome or result. So in this instance, it could be looking at a behavior, and we can backtrack and suspend the process of how we created that behavior. And then when we have steps, we have choice and we have action that we can take. And NLP is very much about, if we can just make one little tweak here in a step, it could change the whole outcome for us. So it's the least amount of work, say, for the biggest amount of change. NLP is super profound in this way. And it is all about excellence. It's all about looking at what is it that we do when we're excellent. So we look at and model human beings getting really excellent results. Like we might think someone who has a lot of happiness, joy, purpose, they are excellent in that. You know, that is a form of excellence. That is a form of something, oh, I want that. I want to be happy. I want to be successful. I want to have purpose and joy, right? And this is how NLP came about, is it goes, okay, well, what equals happiness? How are people doing that? So that again, if we have a process, we can apply it to ourselves and get the same outcomes. So as we go through today, I'm going to share with you NLP in the way of 7 reasons that stop people making lasting change. Okay, so there's 7 reasons that stop people making lasting, profound change. And here's the reason 1. People try and change their behaviors with willpower. And willpower, we're going to come to see, is only a very small percentage of our mind's capacity. So we've all had an experience of and we endeavor to do that with effort and just setting the intention with our conscious mind, with our awareness, and just doing what we can to make this change. And have you ever felt like it's not easy to do? And before you know it, you're doing your automatic habits of behavior and just going into your old ways. Well, it's because one is they're not looking at their emotions and beliefs and the deeper thought patterns that create their behaviors in the first place. And we're going to come to see too, when I talk in a moment about conscious mind and unconscious mind, that our willpower being 4% and the rest of us, the 96%, which is in our unconscious mind, is actually where all of our emotions, beliefs, and thought patterns come from. So what do you think is going to win out? 4% of you or 96% of you? What do you think will win? Your 96%, your automatic. So what NLP looks at is when we want to make change in, say, a behavior, maybe like meditating on a beach or something, it's just a pretty picture, but maybe something like eating better and not eating bad foods for yourself. You know what you're doing as a behavior is not good for you, so it's time to make change. Well, again, do you do that with willpower? Or do you, like with NLP, what we do is we look at what are the thoughts and the emotions underneath the behavior? What are your thought patterns and your emotions that you're having that are driving your behaviors in the first place? Okay, because it's going to be the thoughts and emotions that win out, because Again, this is from your 96%. So, you know, like a habit like quit smoking, to stop smoking. If you just try and change the behavior without looking at what caused the person to start smoking in the first place, what were the thoughts going on from what they were experiencing, what were the emotions that they were going through in order to pick up the habit of smoking in the first place. And if those, again, are not addressed, well, then it is not so easy for the person to make change. Okay, so the NLP's approach to change is to look at the thoughts, emotions that create the behaviors in the first place. And we look for patterns. And it's patterns of thoughts that we have over and over again because we are automatic and habitual beings. I'll talk about that in terms of our neurology and how it is that we create habits, and how is it then that we change our habits easily and really, truly quickly. So NLP allows us to communicate effectively, make change rapidly, clear negativity from the past, because it can do this because it is not just the study of behavior and, again, how people do what they do to get what's going on for them. It doesn't just give us the process. It is the study of what creates the behavior. Okay. So we've all seen the variations of the wheel of life, and this is one of them. And I could guess that because you are here, there could be an area of life or multiple where you feel like you could do better in. You could have more success in, more happiness, more love and connection. And so what could be just one area of your life that you could focus on and think, what is an area of my life that I could improve? You know, before I learnt NLP, it was really interesting for me that I had a recurring pattern happen. And it was a problem that just felt really stuck for me. I don't know if you've experienced having a problem in your life. Maybe it's in one area of your life and it just feels so stuck that whatever you do, you can't see yet how to experience it any differently. Well, for me, before NLP, it was in the area of intimate relationships. And throughout my life, I would have really close connections with my intimate partner. And over 3 different relationships, the same thing happened. So something happened 3 times. So that's what we could say is absolutely a pattern in my life. Okay, so say if you get something recurring, we could see that to be a pattern. And that's interesting. It's like, what's creating that pattern? Well, what was happening for me is I was in what was and really did feel and seem like a beautiful, loving relationship. And truly, out of the blue, my partner would one day come to me and he would just say, I don't know why, Lauren, but I feel like I just have to break up with you. And this would happen. Okay, so after the 3rd person dumped me out of the blue, this time we were together 11 months, and he said this. And of course, at the time, I didn't think, oh, wow, this is happening again. But with a little bit of hindsight, you can start to realize, this is not the first time that this has happened to me. And not long after that breakup, I went to an NLP introduction workshop. And on the first evening before this weekend, we had to choose an area of our life in which we would like to improve and write all the things that are important to us. And I'm writing this down in my ideal relationship, and I burst out crying because everything I was writing down as important to me was everything I had with this man who just had broken up with me recently. And it was a really frustrating and sad time. So I don't know if you've ever felt frustrated, that you feel like you are doing the work maybe for yourself and you're looking for the answers, but you just feel like, why is this happening to me? And this can be a sad feeling, but it can also be a frustrating feeling as to how can I not find the answers to what's going on for me. And the next day in this NLP weekend, we look at why things are important to us. And with that question, we find what we believe about that thing. And all of a sudden I said, I don't believe that I can be happy without a partner. I said this. So all of a sudden, what showed up from my unconscious, so I wasn't conscious of this before, but what came from my unconscious was this limiting belief about myself that I couldn't be happy without a partner. So if we just think about that, someone who would have this belief, like I did, would have codependency, okay, would be putting out this energy in the relationship that their partner is the person responsible for their happiness. And of course, my partners must have felt responsible for my happiness, even when I can say my behaviors were not overt, it was not obvious, I wasn't particularly smothering to the partner, but it must have come out in a different way, that if I was relying on him for my happiness, and hence why they needed to break up with me. So at this NLP weekend, I looked at that belief and I realized it's not serving me and it's not serving anybody. So I resolved that belief using a process like matrix therapies, which we teach in our NLP programs. Matrix therapies is created by Pip Kai, which I think a lot of you know who Pip is. And cleared that belief. And not long after that weekend, I attracted that man back into my life, the one who recently broke up with me and the one who was giving me all of these ideals. And 16 years later, we just celebrated 16 years together, happy years, and he's my husband and now the father of my daughter. So what is the area of life for you? If you want to share, feel free and go and pop it in the chat box for me. On that note with the chat box too, if you've got any questions as we go along, type them in, and when I'm ready for questions, I'll have a look at them and I'm happy to answer them for you. So you'll see in your panel there's a chat box and you can totally send me a question. And I like participation as well. So that was the start of my NLP journey, and from that experience I went to learn the stages and I became one of the youngest NLP trainers in the world. So it was a big honor for me to do the work. Yeah, thanks Sasha for sharing. Finances, absolutely. I think a lot of people would love to work on their finances. So in order to make change, and what I needed to do to make change, yeah, money, relationships, yeah, great. Is there were three things that had to happen for us to make change. There's three things. For change to occur, we need to be honest with ourselves. Okay, we really need to look at our stuff, be willing to, and be honest with what is going on for us. Because if we're honest with ourselves, then we can do something about it. We're only cheating ourselves if we're dishonest, only for you. And you have to want to make change. Yeah, you have to want to actually make the change. And you need to be willing to take a different approach. Take a different approach to what you've been doing. Okay, because if what you're doing is not working, you totally need to try something else. All right, so who am I? Lauren Jobson, your trainer today. I am a trainer of NLP for the last 10 years, and Psychology Today magazine said that NLP is the most advanced technology for change today. I'm a master trainer of matrix therapies by Pip Mackay, a wonderful Pip Mackay who is mentor of mine and a dear, dear friend. I was recently bridesmaid at her wedding. I think a lot of people, again, online have met Pip or seen her speak. So master trainer of matrix therapies means that I have the honor of teaching others to teach matrix therapy. So it's this beautiful ripple effect. And I've been a volunteer executive board member, including vice chairperson at the Australian Board of NLP, which is the governing board of standards in NLP in Australia, because standards and integrity of NLP are important to me. The ABNLP is now called NLPAA, by the way, so the NLP Association for Australia. And I had the honour of receiving an award, NLP Trainer of the Year, in 2015 by the NLP and Hypnosis Society. How long did the transition take? Instantly, Melissa. So I made that change on the weekend. I cleared that belief, and on say I think it was in a couple of weeks, because this was like going back, as you know, over 16 years ago, but it was definitely within the next couple of weeks after that weekend, we decided I would go and chat with this man, and we know the changes in each other, and we started dating again, and hunky-dory things. Yeah, so change can happen instantly, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So what is NLP? These letters, but what does it actually mean? Well, it stands for neuro, so N stands for neuro, and it's a study of our brain and our mind. So I've been hinting to you a little bit now already about understanding how our mind actually works. Linguistics, language, as I said before, it's about being intentional with our language. So it's the study of how our words affect ourself and our experiences, and how we then take action in our world. So the words that we use absolutely impact our experiences in life. And of course, everything we say to others also has an effect on them moment to moment, okay? Because we all have internal pictures, sounds, feelings, smells, tastes, self-talk inside our mind. And words guide people to have particular pictures inside their mind, feelings, self-talk. Okay, so if I said to you, I want you to think of your favorite holiday destination. I've just used my language to affect an experience for you right now. So if you took my guidance, you could think now of a favorite holiday destination. And when you think about that, so a holiday you've been on before, I've affected your experience, because you have instantly, even if you don't want to think about it, you have to think about it first. Okay, so if I said, don't think of a blue tree, now don't think of a blue tree. Even if it was for a second, you had to think of the thing before not thinking about it. Or you at least pictured a tree. Yeah, so we are always affecting each other with the words that we use. And it's about using our language consciously and intentionally. And then the P stands for programming. So we've got neuro-linguistic programming, and programming are the habits of thoughts that leads to our habits of behavior. Okay, so what is reason 2 that stops people from creating lasting change? It's we pick up programming from many influences in our lives. We have thoughts, emotions, beliefs from parents and other key people we learnt about the world from. And I'm going to share with you now a snippet of a movie. So I'm going to turn my volume up. I'll encourage you to turn your volume up as well in a moment. This snippet just goes for, say, I think it's 30 seconds. And it's from The Knight's Tale, A Knight's Tale. And there, in this snippet, there is a child, and he's being influenced by 2 people. So I want you to notice what's going on for this child and how he is being influenced. Okay, enjoy the movie.
Someday, I'll be a knight.
Oh, thanks, your son. A knight? You might as well try to change the stars.
Can a man change the stars?
Yes, sweetie. He believes enough a man can do anything.
Okay, so we're going to see how that plays out at the very end of this webinar. So stay tuned and notice, who were the 2 key people of influence in this? The prisoner and his dad. And the prisoner laughs and says, you know, that's like, and he says what he says, that's like wanting to change the stars. And then the little boy turns to his father. And what a beautiful thing that his father is a great influence in this, in what we're seeing here. The most beautiful influence that he then gets from his dad. So who do we think wins out? Luckily, one being a prisoner who's negative, and the parent, generally that loving connection, is positive in this instance. So you could kind of guess which one will win out, but we'll see at the end how that plays out. Okay, so it's noticing that we pick up, again, because we are automatic beings, and all you have to do is look at a child. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter, and it's absolutely humbling and incredible how quickly human beings pick up meaning to everything in our world. We pick up our morals, our ethics, our little habits, our behaviours, the way we think of things from the key people that were around when we were growing up. okay? So unless we look at the influences and look to make change and see, well, what's a good influence and what's not an empowering influence, this can be reasons why people don't make change. The reason 3, what stops people from making change, is people don't realize their unconscious mind will take the path of least resistance. And that every behavior has a trigger. It has a specific moment in time. There is a specific thought or external trigger that starts off a behavior. And before we know it, we are carrying out a behavior. And until we again stop and look at our unconscious habits and become conscious of them, we may not realize that a lot of our automatic things that are not working for us is because it's become our shortcut. So the path of least resistance, meaning obviously it's got the least resistance, so it's the easiest, it's the most automatic, natural thing, even though it doesn't feel good, because we know we have a lot of habits that are actually not good for us, or maybe don't have a lot, but some people can have a lot of habits that aren't good for us and ultimately don't feel good. But why do people do that? Why do people do behaviors that are not good for them? Because they know it, right? It's at least if they're in pain and they're struggling, at least they know their pain, right? It's this thing, and it's because it's become the path of least resistance. And so this is, for a moment, I want to show you my beautiful neurons. These are brain cells I bought from a science shop, neuron 1, neuron 2. And we have 10 to the power of 10 neurons in our nervous system. So that is the number 10 with 10 zeros after it, written 10 times. We can't even conceive of that number. It is more than the known stars in the galaxy and more than the grains of sand on the earth as to the possible neurons that we have in our nervous system. And so what this means and how this works is that in order for us to have a thought, a feeling, and then to carry out a behavior, we have both chemical and electrical inside of us. So we think a thought, and that thought goes through one neuron, and it then connects to another one to follow through on that thought. And so the first time we think something, or the first time we do something, these guys connect. And so it goes, oh, okay, you feel, so say I'm going to use I'm going to talk about a habit that's not good for us, say, because I think we could all relate. So this one goes, I'm feeling sad, I want sugar, right? So they go, okay, I feel sad, I want sugar. Before we know it, you are going for the sugar. And the more you do this, the more these guys connect, the more they love each other, and they become the path of least resistance. So again, the more they connect, the more we repeat something, they love each other so much that what actually happens is there's a hormone that gets wrapped around them called a myelin sheathing, M-Y-L-O-N. It's a hormone inside of us. And it creates, and it's literally called this, a superhighway. So when we do something over and over and over again, you could just see it to be our neurons love each other so much that they create a superhighway. And like the myelin sheathing is like the plastic bit on the end of your shoelaces to stop it fraying, it connects them really strong. And so there are 2 ways to make change, 2 ways. The first way is repetition, which creates what we're calling our path of least resistance. And so I want you to think of it like this. Change happens when we repeat something, because it's like you're going on a bushwalk here in lovely Australia, and you take a path that hasn't been treaded on before by another human being. So you walk somewhere new, and so say it's full of trees and shrubs and sticks, and so the first time you take this walk, when no one else has been before, you need a machete, and you need to cut away everything that's in your way. When you think about this, when you want to do something for the first time with your willpower, it takes a lot of effort and energy. Okay, so we do this. What happens in the next time that you take that path? It's clearer, right? So maybe you still have a bit to cut away, but definitely not as much as the first time. And the more you walk it, right, there will come a time where it becomes a dirt path and you can start to see where you've been before. Oh, great. And so it's this dirt path, and so it's really quite easy to walk. Might have some stones, so you do have to watch out and just be careful for some little obstacles, right? But say we now put concrete down and it becomes a pathway with concrete, becomes our super highway. Now you don't have to look out for the obstacles. You don't really have to watch your feet and look out for any stones you might trip on. It's a super highway. It's so easy. You're just running now. You're off because you've done it so many times. Super highway. Okay, so that's the first way we create something, and that is repetition. So the second thing, do you want to know the second thing? To make change. And it is. So say instead for this person, they feel sad and in the past they used to go for sugar and they want to make this change. So we need a new neural connection. We need a new relationship to happen. So it goes, I feel sad, and maybe this new thing is I sit with my emotion and I learn what it's about, and maybe I go for a walk, right? This could maybe be the new thing. And how this happens immediately without repetition is for the new thing to feel so good that these guys go, oh yeah, this just feels so much better than the old way. And then this in turn becomes the path of least resistance. This becomes the shortcut. So you still have this old choice, and over time, the less you do it, they're going to lose their connection. It won't be as easy. It's not going to be your habit anymore. But if you've got this shortcut that feels so good, this new choice, well, then you would always take, well, you would generally think you would take the way that feels better. Take the shortcut, take the path of least resistance. Isn't that a great thing? It's very exciting for us. And so when we make change with our unconscious mind, this is this second thing of change happening immediately. So our conscious mind, as I said, is only 4% of our mind's capacity, and the rest of us that is unconscious moment to moment is 96%. That comes from Professor Snyder at the Centre of the Mind at Sydney University, and you look his name up and you'll see all these cool brain experiments that he's done. I mean, it's in like university papers, so it's not the easiest read, but this guy, he was the one who postulated for us that our conscious mind is only this number of 4%. And in our conscious mind sits our willpower, which I've mentioned, and in our unconscious mind are our emotions, beliefs, thought patterns, all of our memories, where our behavior comes from and where lasting change takes place. So using NLP processes, we get to go into your unconscious with your conscious mind. So it's just going into your inner wisdom, just trusting, just doing processes like in my story, becoming aware of a belief that I had that was sitting in the unconscious, but the moment it became conscious, I could see that. And then we do a process that has you make change at the deep unconscious level, gives these guys a whole new choice and a whole new path of least resistance, and you make true and lasting change. And this is a very simplified, magnified picture of these neurons here that I've been talking about. And again, you have so many. I think it's like 15,000 billion is one number here, but it's 10 to the power of 10 possible little dendrites that these guys can go off. And that just means for you how many new choices you can have. Okay, it's all about you actually have a lot more choice than you might feel that you have right now. Choice of change, choice of new behaviors. And so again, this whole thing of reason 3, people don't realize their unconscious mind will take the path of least resistance, and every behavior has a trigger that starts it. I want to share with you an NLP process, and it's called strategies. And strategies are the order and sequence of the steps we take in the external world, as well as the internal steps we take, such as feel an emotion or we think a specific thought that produces a specific result. So what do I mean by that? Well, for example, we could take a step of, I see something I like the look of. And then you say something to yourself. So in this instance, it's inside your head, and you say, I need this, I love this, it fits all of my criteria. Then you get a great feeling about it, and the result in this example is you make a decision and you buy the thing. Okay, so you see it, you say something to yourself, you get a good feeling, and then you buy it. And this could also be similar to what inspires you, what motivates you. And we have strategies for every single behavior that we have. And so again, NLP looks at the behavior, and we can slow it down and look at, what are you doing inside your mind? And what are you seeing and being triggered by outside of you? That when we can see that, if you want to make change, we can tweak a step. So my decision-making strategy used to be, for example, like an impulsive buyer, an impulsive person, where it was, I'd see the thing, I love it, I buy it. And that would just mean sometimes I wouldn't be living in my means, and then it was creating other things for me. So that's an example of, if a strategy is not working, then I added a step to my strategy so that I'm not so impulsive anymore, and I have something that works better for me. So when you know your own and others' strategies, you can predict and affect your own and others' behavior. So that's just one example of how NLP looks at behavior. Reason 4 that people don't make change. People are out of rapport with their own unconscious minds. So when I said before about conscious mind and unconscious mind, some people just don't ever really stop, pause, ask themselves effective questions to then listen and learn from themselves. They don't listen to their feelings. They don't take stock of what's going on for them. And rapport is something that is intangible for a lot of people. It's like, meaning it's this idea of, well, you either have rapport with someone or you don't. You either find a common ground and connection or you don't. And if you feel like it's not up to you, well, then you can't do anything about it. It's disempowering. So rapport is just one example how NLP takes something that seems intangible and turns it into a process. So these doggies here, they're really cute and they're in rapport. They have a connection. And NLP teaches us the process that we can have to gain rapport. And secondary to this, the more work you do with yourself, the better rapport you actually have with yourself, which I think is fundamental to life. Like my core message, and that is, you connect with your inner wisdom and you just constantly take the time to learn about yourself. I think this is self-love. And when you have this self-love and connection with yourself, you can create your life the way you want to. So I think it's fundamental. So another NLP process and understanding is giving us, again, step-by-step process on how we can get things in our world that we want. Reason 5 is people feel a lack of resourcefulness. Have you ever felt like you don't have enough confidence to do what you want to do? Have you ever felt like you don't have the courage to do what you want to do? What about motivation? Do you procrastinate? Do you feel like if only you had more organization, you could get more of what you want? Do you feel like your self-care is lacking, or even a feeling of empowerment? Some people just feel like they don't have these feelings and this resourcefulness to get what they want. So there's an NLP process that looks at state management, that looks at our emotions, and it's this idea, and NLP is all about, well, you know what, you can pull upon these feelings in any moment, no matter what is going on. So there's a specific process that we do at our first level of NLP, and we look at how to move yourself out of procrastination into motivation using your emotional states. And we do 2 other processes with anchoring, where it's about managing your emotional state at any time, no matter what is going on for you, where you can call upon confidence and have more confidence in the moment. So we teach you how to do that. Have more courage, have more motivation, organization, all of these other things. Reason 6, people have negative emotions and what's called limiting beliefs, such as feeling sad, anger, guilt, fear, anxiety stopping them, feeling like they're not good enough, feeling like they're not worthy to have what they want, not capable, not deserving, are just some examples. And we have a process, as I have mentioned before, matrix therapy, created again by Pete Mackay, and it allows us to let go and resolve negative emotions and beliefs easily, again at the unconscious level, and fast. It's a 10-minute process actually that can have us letting go of a limiting belief, just like I experienced at the NLP workshop. And we make change with your unconscious mind. So we give these guys the new path of least resistance for you to let go of anger from the past, sadness from the past, letting go of old limiting beliefs that are stopping you from feeling like you can have what you want. And the final reason is people not knowing their values, and they are taking action that's misaligned to what's most important to them, and or they are not valuing what they really want. So I love this topic. It's an NLP process called values. So let me share with you what this means. So we have values in all areas of our life, okay? And our values dictate, again, what is most important to us, but it's how we then judge our own behaviours and the behaviours of others according to what our values are. To say if our top career value is helping people, that if one perceives someone else to not be helping others, that's where the negative judgment comes in. So our values dictate so much of our experiences in the world, and they dictate our own behaviours. So let's for a moment look at career for somebody, and let's say that their values for their career is they go, what's most important to me is helping people. Then the next most important thing is that I want to be excellent at it. Oh yeah, and I need to have flexible hours. I want to have creativity and community. I love, making sure I'm working with people and having that sense of community. I've got to love what I do. And then say this person has other values, and at number 10 is money. So then money is important to them, but it's only number 10. So what we could say and postulate from seeing this is that for this person, what they'll do is, say if someone asks for their help, but they can't afford it, well, this person's top value is helping them, and maybe they love what they do so much and they are good at it and they want to be even better at it. What they might do is not charge the person, and they don't receive payment and this energy exchange for their help, because they're not prioritizing money enough. So it is said that we only have time and energy to fulfill our top 5 to 6 values. And so we want to look at our values and notice, what is it that we are, and it's this word that we all know of, and it's this word of prioritizing. What are we prioritizing on top of things? Because say if this person looks at their life and they go, you know what, it's time for me to make more money. I want to make more money. And some of you actually have mentioned finances as your thing. It'd be worth looking at your values. And what we do as an NLP process is we look at your beliefs that sit behind all of these values, because in turn, if you've got limiting beliefs like I did in my intimate relationships, well, it's going to totally affect the way and the results, the way I was experiencing that area and the results I was getting. So this person, in order for them to make more money, is we will need to look at the beliefs of money, and in changing any limiting beliefs for the person, naturally what's going to happen is that this person's unconscious mind will start to value money higher. They will be more comfortable to put money higher up in what we call the values hierarchy, and they will prioritize it more. They can still prioritize all these things, but then too, they will prioritize money, and they'll be helping people, they'll be good at it, they'll have all these things, flexible hours, and because they value money and have really supportive and resourceful beliefs around it, they will start to manifest and take the right actions, because again, your values dictate your actions. This person will hands down absolutely make more money. When I did this for myself, I changed my beliefs around money, and then I re-elicited, as we do, our list of our values, and all of a sudden this new value popped into my career values, and it was marketing myself. It was getting myself out there. I was like, oh yeah. And so these other things can come into play when you make change in a value. And so all of a sudden I had, it's probably things like, you know, helping people, love what I do, marketing myself and sharing my message, which in turn gives me money. So money was there. Yeah. And so this is how it works. So looking at your values is really important. So say if you look at your health values, someone where their health is not going so well, chances are they have things like eating really well, cooking regularly and cooking nutritious meals, moving my body in really great fun ways regularly. Chances are those values are not going to be up high enough, or they might not even have those values there in the first place. Okay, so again, we have different values according to the different areas. And then of course we have the big picture life values, what's important to us in our whole life, or what's important to us about life. And those values are going to completely dictate, again, the actions that we take, our priorities, how we make judgments of our own behavior, and how we judge others. So values is really core, and they sit in our unconscious mind until we become conscious of them. So unless you've done values work, you might not consciously realize yet what your values are. And the question to ask yourself to know what they are is to go, what is important to me in this area? What is important to me? And you get them all out and you write them all out. And then once you've got them all out, then it's looking at what's most important to you. What have you been prioritizing right now? And what next have you been prioritizing? And what next? And that's how you get what we call this values hierarchy. We spend a good 2 days at our NLP Master Prac program doing values, and it's life-changing. So we're coming to an end soon. How does NLP accelerate change? Well, it reprograms the mind. It reprograms these little dudes. It gives them new choice. It gives you new choice. Helps you resolve the past. Has you gain emotional intelligence. Learn effectively and rapidly because it's giving you the how. Communicate and negotiate easily. Yeah, nice. Thanks for the feedback. Awesome. Thanks, Peter. And we can create lasting change. And it's using the power of the unconscious mind to create and achieve goals and purpose. In a moment, I'm going to share with you the most touching snippet of the movie again, and what happened to the little boy. In a moment, I'll share that with you. And for those who are interested in learning NLP with us, we have coming up, yay, thanks Christine, we have coming up level 1 of NLP Matrix Therapies Practitioner. It's a 7-day certification training, and what we do in this training and more is we learn to communicate with power and integrity. We learn how the mind works. We learn how our use of language influences how we think, how we can tap into the unconscious mind to change beliefs, emotions, and behaviors instantly for ourselves and others, how to take full control of our emotional states and thoughts and use them to our advantage. It's all about changing our habits and patterns of behavior for us to create personal empowerment. We learn to resolve conflicts and incongruence, and it allows us the option to assist others because it's certification in both NLP and matrix therapy. So you can actually go and help others make change. Again, the next one, here are the dates, and the investment is pay in full $3,495. And for those online who have come through Pip Mackay, you might have learned level 1 with us at Evolve now. So level 1 graduates get $1,000 off, $2,495, because you've done our other programs. And payment plans are available starting at $550 per month. So I'm a clinical professional member and trainer member of the NLPAA. So I want you to know you're going to get 2 governing boards that recognize you as an NLP and matrix therapies practitioner. You'll get NLP Prac CDs of a live training with Pip Mackay taking you through a whole training, which means you can listen to the training over and over again for the rest of your life. Value $8.95, we sell those CDs. We do have a package price for those who want to do Prac, Master Prac, and trainer training as well. So I'm going to have a link in a moment for people who want to have a free 30-minute chat with me. If you have questions and you just want to simply chat about how NLP might help you specifically and what's going on for you, we can have a chat, see if you need to do a different